Arrieu was a prolific composer. She composed hundreds of works of different kinds, and she had a gift for composing in a beautiful melodic line. So her music has some beautiful tunes in it. She's said to be influenced by Fauré, Debussy and Ravel. However, her music is more romantic than impressionist, really. I'd say the articulation was a very important part of the piece. You need to make sure that you play the slurs in the right place. The reason is that when you put a slur over the notes in a piece of music, it has the effect of emphasising the first note and then making the others, as you go through, less and less important, so that the last note is going to be the least important. So when you're playing the first phrase, in that I just picked out the first notes in each group. So that's the shape of the first phrase, and the second one. So that's the structure underneath the main tune. So you need to make sure that you tongue in those places, because otherwise the shape of the melody isn't going to be right. Now the second challenge is to make sure that you join up the intervals where they're under the slur. So in the second bar, for example, you've got quite a wide interval between the C and the E. You can practice it in triplets to smooth it out. There are some exercises also in the sonority book by Marcel Moyes, intervals. I would recommend that book. There's also the omnibus edition of the Trevor Y books, and he has some exercises in there as well, very similar to the Marcel Moyes, the original Marcel Moyes one, really. So the second phrase, looking at the second phrase, last bar of the stave in the first line of the printed music, you can see that you've got a very big interval there between the B and the A sharp. You need to practice that so that it's nice and smooth and joined up. The examiner is going to be looking out for this, so you need to make sure that that is correct. It's a nice, friendly, affable, very pleasant to listen to tune. So the first two staves are a nice, attractive tune, and then you get to another element. Another idea in bar 9. Now this is like a little conversation with a pianist, so you need to listen to the piano part and make sure that you make it sound like a little duet there, so you're answering each other. And now the colour changes because it modulates into another key. So there's a different feeling, so you need to actually make sure that you play it in a slightly different way when you come to all the flats. Make sure that you remember the A flat as well as the B flat. When you get to bar 16, you need to make sure that you play staccato on the A, so it's nice and light, and the same in bar 18. So those are two bars that need to be the same. So make sure that they are the same in terms of the articulation. Don't play one, longer than the other or whatever. Make sure they're the same, so it's consistent. And then when you get to bar 17, 18, 19, you're actually tonguing the notes, but there's not really a gap in between them. So normally you would play with no markings at all. There's a little bit more of a gap, and if it's staccato, of course it'll be. So this is, and you need to put in a little decoration so that it doesn't dominate. You need to make sure that it just decorates that E. And you can use the false fingering for F sharp for that. So this is the false fingering for F sharp. You don't use it normally because it doesn't sound as good, but in a trill, when you're actually playing a trill, you can get away with it. Okay, so the next section has some changes of speed in it. Now you need to make sure that you follow those. You've got a rallentando, which means slow down gradually, and then you've got a poco più lento coming up. You've also got some dynamic changes. Piano espressivo, and then you've got piano sempre, so that just means always piano. So it means, you know, don't get any louder. Play that bit softly. So. Feels ethereal, this section, so try and make it sound ethereal. It is actually quite difficult to get a good clear tongue on the B without making an accent, so you need to make sure that your tongue is as far forward as possible. You could also tongue like that, as if you're spitting out a piece of rice, forward tonguing. You'll have to prepare for that. Maybe mark your music if you decide to do that so that you remember. In this section, you can use vibrato as a way of making it sound expressive as well. By grade 5, you should really be learning vibrato. There's a section in the Trevor Y Omnibus book on how to start on that. Now, one thing that I didn't mention at the beginning was the need to make sure that you play in tune. And that is another feature, of course, of this piece, is that there are a lot of octaves. So doing some work like that and checking with a digital tuner, or you can download an app onto your phone, you can actually see whether you're flat or sharp and make the adjustments so that when you actually put it into the piece, you put that technique into the piece, that it will work. So on the second page, that's from bar 33 onwards. If you look at bar 33, it's the same tonguing and the same kind of decoration as you've had in bar 19. So try and see if you can make it sound the same. The next section, you've got so that's forte, subito means suddenly, so you need to actually really sing out there. That's a surprise, okay? So it's like the sun coming out. Think about the sun coming out there and shining. This is a very friendly piece, really. It feels friendly and affable. It's a pleasant piece of music. So, next section. So, and then you've got so I would suggest that you practice that bar 41 and then probably over and over again, and if you have trouble with finger work, you can actually do some dotted rhythms like this. very fast, but you get the idea. What you're doing is you're playing some notes, some intervals quickly and some intervals slowly. So it gives your fingers a chance to have a little rest, and then you reverse it. So you're basically exercising your fingers. So you should be able to play it. That's a little bit fast for this piece, but you know, you should be able to do it smoothly. You'll be amazed at how well that works, that little trick. Next section, sing out the notes beautifully. The next section is mysterious again, so maybe make it mysterious and ethereal like you had in the Poco Più Lento. It's not quite the same feeling, but it's similar. And then you've got another section. It's quite strong. I play it quite strong anyway. I play it like that, so it's got a feeling to it. And then you've got the recapitulation of the earlier melody. In a different key. I haven't spoken about keys, but you do need to practice your scales and arpeggios when you're playing any piece, really. And you really need to know what keys the piece goes into. So I'm going to tell you it's in G major. So practice with G major, your scale and your arpeggio, but have a look and see where the modulations are in the piano part. Now this is important. You need to pass your grade 5 theory in order to go on to the upper grades on the flute. So you need to make sure that you understand the basics, and that will help you if you know something about this. So if you're not sure, then ask, and it can be sorted out. But it starts in G major and it ends in G major, that's what I'm going to say. One clue is the F sharp, of course, and it starts, you know, on the arpeggio of G, G, B, D, first bar, last bar, G. Nice long G. Make sure you don't cut it short at the end. Remember, examiners hear pieces hundreds of times, so try to make it special. Listen to different top flute players play this piece of music. People like James Galway, like Emmanuel Pahoud, all the top world-class flautists, and decide which one's your favourite, and see if you can actually learn something from that. You don't want to copy it completely, because a copy is not a good idea. Just take a few ideas, try and work out why you like that piece, why you like that performance, what's good about it, can you use any of it in your own playing. Another thing you could do, if you're still struggling with trying to interpret the piece and move somebody emotionally with it, because for grade 5, it's not good enough to just be joyful or sad or, you know, one emotion. You need to take people on a journey. So you need a story. You could fit a story to this. Another thing that you could do is watch a film based in the 1900s, a romantic film, and you can match the piece of music to that and imagine the imagery in your head while you're playing it. So that is another way of making a piece of music sound more interesting if you don't have that much of a connection with it, if you don't feel an emotional connection with it, or you come from another culture and you're not quite sure how to actually interpret it.